Yeah, many interesting stories. Let's dive a bit deeper into the tech behind all that. And there's a lot of transformation going on right now, which is especially linked to digital and software and the IT in the background of all that. And I won't dive into too many details about those use cases, but I attended like 2 e-commerce conferences over the past 2 weeks, and this is kind of the common denominator. Everyone is focusing about customer 360. Let's better understand who our customers are, what they want, the products and services, how they use them, or how to facilitate omnichannel services, really connect all the experiences, retail, in-store, online, mobile, etc., into a single experience. How to actually also monetize the data that they have across value chains to improve like logistics and stock management and all that. So there's so many use cases in one industry alone that are all driven by like digital, modern software systems. Obviously, generative AI was the big hype topic also at those e-commerce conferences, and we are hearing about it all the time, also to provide personalized experiences. This is a selection of use cases across professional services firms that we are currently dealing with, like law firms, consulting firms, auditing firms, etc. They also want to do more with the data they have. They sit on so much data, internal data, external data, customer proprietary data. How can they provide more digital services, modern, innovative products to make a difference, to differentiate themselves in the market, in those competitive markets? Plus financial services like prospecting and monitoring. How can, and I'll share a case study about that in a few minutes, how can private banks, wealth managers, actually find new leads and then come up with a very personalized service proposition to win more business, also in a more data-driven way. Or this is about automotive and manufacturing use cases. I'm currently dealing with customers looking very much into like using digital twins and how to make more of the data to support forecasting, predictive maintenance, better support out there in the field and so on. And these are all use cases very, very significant to their core business, to their business models. And they're all driven by a digital approach. So software has more or less become, finally, the ultimate backbone of all the businesses out there. And I really agree with what was said yesterday. Every company now should be a software company. I fully agree with that. I just think we're not there yet. So it's really, software is center stage for digital. Not a surprise, but still in some organizations, it's kind of a mind shift still needed to actually get there. And when we look into companies, and this is an example again from retail, e-commerce, like ERP system in the center, logistics to the left, web shop to the right. When we look into those companies, we still see a picture like this. Big, monolithic systems. This little chip, I didn't find a better icon, stands for APIs. Big, complex APIs that they surely offer, but it's quite challenging actually to integrate with them. And everyone who has ever dealt with like integrating SAP with a different system knows what I'm talking about. It's become a lot better, but it's still not where we want it to be. And those big monoliths, assuming they're standard software, also come with limitations in terms of how we can use the software in order to differentiate yourself in the market and really make a difference. Kind of digital has become center stage, but then you rely on something pretty standard to make it happen. That doesn't really work together, I guess. And it's not that simple, obviously. It's a bit more sophisticated. There might be more APIs. But still what we see also is, like in e-commerce, like SAP is a big ERP, obviously in all the industries. In e-commerce, you see like newer companies like Shopify, for instance, the big star, which emerged also during COVID, They try to suck you into their platform and make you use all of the features. So that's great for them because they want to scale up their idea how to do e-commerce successfully across all those customers. But that doesn't necessarily mean that it's a good way for you to differentiate in what you want to do. And then there's so much innovation going on around that. There's all those shiny new web services, microservices, AI-powered services from startups and other players, like again in e-commerce, something like AI-powered price optimization or fraud detection, or a big topic is post-cookie customer tracking. We can't use cookies to that extent anymore as we used to actually find out what customers are doing, how they interact with our services. So how to integrate those fancy, shiny new services that all come with state-of-the-art APIs with those big monoliths. That's also like limiting innovation, or at least reducing the pace that we can have to introduce new services. And I don't know if it's an original McKinsey quote, but at least I read it in a McKinsey book. You cannot outsource competitiveness. And I think that's really true. And that also applies to software. If software is so central to the way how you run your business and how you can create competitive advantage. So at least you should own the software. You should control the process, how you create it, and how it works for your business. And again, I mean, you see, I'm advocating against standard software, at least in areas where it is so essential to your core business or to your business model. And bespoke software, I've come to understand that in German we prefer to use like tailor-made software or maßgeschneiderte software. It's really a way to step aside from the standard and do something really unique to your business. So bespoke software is really an enabler for gaining competitive edge with software solutions. And that's a potential result from that, a totally different software architecture. The software architecture, at least software architects dream of. A decoupled, decentralized, distributed network or system of software services organized along business domains, like a service about CRM and product management and warehouse management. And you see the black boxes, those external shiny new AI-powered services, tightly integrated with the overall solution. No real boundaries there anymore. And that also gives a lot of flexibility and resilience, because you don't need to change the whole monolith anymore, but if you only want to upgrade, like your payment system, you want to offer new ways how to pay, like introducing buy now, pay later, things like that. You only need to modify the single part, but the rest of the system remains untouched or can evolve independently of that. So just like an organization, like a company with different business units and departments evolving in parallel, that same approach then applies to the software business that's underneath your business and that's behind all those business processes. And you wouldn't build this in a day, obviously. This takes longer, years, maybe even decades, and you wouldn't build it just for the sake of building something like this. But at least to have it as a sort of strategic objective when going on with digital transformation, to also think about the software stack and the architecture, and if it's future-proof, that's a picture I would recommend to have in mind when making such plans. And there are steps in between, like breaking up boundaries of those big monoliths already in smaller steps and say, okay, let's introduce maybe a bridge between two systems to close a gap that they have left open. Maybe in this case here, to use like an external service providing more customer data when creating offers, and like modernizing the offer and order creation process, just this little step. And I also have a case study to share with you where we bridge another gap between big systems. So it's a journey, and that's the good thing with all those APIs and modern architecture. We can get on that journey. I think the important thing is to actually do it. And that's one case study, and I keep putting the QR codes in a spot where some furniture actually limits its visibility. I should have learned from that earlier. That's a case study. You can find it on our website, where we did something like this for a European workwear retailer. Engelbert Strauss might be a name known to some of you at least. And we started with them, providing them with a web shop. It was 1999, and they said, we work with craftsmen, they don't buy online, and that totally changed over the years. And over the years, then we also stepped deeper into supporting their business, and surely over a decade, we've now been sort of building a corporate platform with a totally tailor-made ERP system and the web shop system and the logistics management system. Actually, those terms don't make any sense anymore because it's no longer thought in those disciplines. It's one tightly integrated platform that their business runs on. The only thing that we did not in a bespoke way is like financial accounting. That's where I think most would agree that's not the way how to make a difference in the market. That's where you want to be super compliant. But all the other things, and they have grown tremendously. It's a private company. They don't publish data, but you can just, if you look at their company, you can see that. And to some extent, surely software played a big role in that, enabling that growth. So the step to a fully bespoke company platform was a big differentiator for them. And when we are already in the business of distributing capabilities, software capabilities across an organization and also giving them into the hands of the business owners, like that really the head of account management is responsible for CRM capabilities, we can apply the same paradigm to data on the track to becoming more data-driven organizations, driving data culture. We need more data. We need maybe also higher quality data. In the past decades, again, companies have introduced data warehouses, data lakes, which too often have become more data swamps, with BI teams being the bottlenecks that get information about data from a business department, try to interpret, try to kind of translate it, and then offer it to another business department. That's a bottleneck that costs a lot of time and effort. It's actually a waste of a lot of time and effort, and it's difficult because sometimes, again from Strauss, I know how many hours you can discuss about the term revenue, what it actually means from different perspectives. So it's just key to do that. And so again here, the same approach to a decoupled, decentralized system. The new kid in town is called data mesh. It's not the only one, but it's a very favorite or popular approach to becoming more data-driven at the moment. And it's not a technology, it's an approach to handling data in the organization. And key to that data mesh approach is to distributing responsibility and ownership of data so that the customer management team owns the customer data and that they come up with a product of customer information that they offer within the organization, or if appropriate in terms of data monetization, even across the company's boundaries. And that's a big difference. And like the typical metaphor that people use, you wouldn't just want to buy like yogurt. That's what you did in the data lake. You just put it in there and then people have to look themselves what they do with it. But if you productize it, put a packaging around it, print a label on it, a nice picture, describe the ingredients, what all of those mean, a proper description and documentation of a data product is just so valuable for others to use it. And then if there's the shiny, nice yogurt package in the shelf, you actually will use it. You will maybe eat more yogurt if it's just like the big tons of. Maybe not. I'm not the best in using that metaphor. I get that, but product thinking is really key to drive data use across organizations. And so in this picture, I simply added APIs to all of those services. Besides the operational connection between the services, offering additional data products, also in an API-driven way. That is the big shift here. And this is then useful to feed all those AI models that we want to use. If it's Gen AI or deep learning or others, they need data, and especially to support self-service analytics. So we see a lot of increased use of tools like Tableau or Power BI, ThoughtSpot, and more that actually need the access to all those data sources and to allow business users without having to go through a BI department to quickly access, even in an ad hoc way, the data they want in a user experience that allows them to do that. And data mesh and a distributed architecture and a modern data stack is a key ingredient to get there. Also here, a case study. You can find it on the website, also in the e-commerce industry, where we did exactly that. And the scope of use cases is really interesting. It's part of that is more consumer focused, better understand customers. But I think the more interesting use cases is like optimizing internal logistics processes, how to ensure the right product is in the right warehouse at the right time to optimize, like not send two boxes from two different places, but centralize if it makes sense, or for further processing of goods before they are being shipped to ensure they are at the right spot at the right time. And providing such data products even allows a better integration than with logistics providers like DHL, GLS, and so on. So it's not just creating reports in a nicer way now. It's about making really better use of data in business processes. Yeah, and also that doesn't require the great distributed decoupled software architecture to work. This is also something you can already start in a status quo environment by simply adding or data productizing data storages, databases that are part of the existing stack, but becoming a more modern way to treating data already also in a legacy environment. That's possible too, and that makes total sense. I had just had a conversation with another customer of ours, a private bank, who said, hey, we had like 3 Microsoft BI services, SQL Server BI services environments, same answer, same question, 3 different answers. So there's no reason to wait for better software to upgrade the data stack. And here's a couple of stories around Gen AI and what we do in retail there. I won't go into detail about that. We had a lot of sessions about AI already. But just to mention the data stack and the decoupled software architecture obviously also allow to more easily integrate such modern AI capabilities as well. That's about the shiny things, and I really like this picture. I just show it also for the woo factor that is probably already shown too often, but that's what too many AI presentations talk about. Yeah, those use cases that are nice to understand how it works or what the challenges are, but it's so distant to actual business requirements to find out if this is the dog or the muffin. A lot more boring, but so more efficiency in business related is this. Like one example of a very niche bespoke solution we provided is about public tenders in hospital supplies. And like we work for a company, you see the name up there, 3M. Their healthcare business is now being divested and rebranded to Solventum. It's been a few years already that we work on this together. And for them, public tender business is really key. They provide hospital supplies, so a high volume business We started in Europe, now we're already more active on a global scale with this solution. So many public tenders published more or less all the time in different countries. In Europe, we have this EU tender platform, TED. That's already cool, but it's actually just a platform where many still just publish PDF files to, not too structured. And depending on the size of the tender, you might not find it there. You need to go down to a more national level or even a regional level. And every country has different ways how to find the tenders. And so that's one challenge. And another challenge is, and that's why I chose this AI example, tenders need to be neutral in the way how they describe the products they need. So plasters, and I don't know any of those terms, neither in German nor in English. Thousands or hundreds, sometimes thousands of line items they ask for, sometimes in different variations like width and length and those sort of things, in a neutral description. And then you have a product catalog, like in this case, the 3M one, with really, I mean, you see that they sell in the US too, that's why they have those weird sizes. It probably makes sense in inches, but they have a name, a brand, a description of the product, different features that are unique to this product, but maybe not necessarily required to provide a proper answer to the tender. So that's a huge matching effort. Again, hundreds or thousands of line items being asked for, and then the first job is, after you've found the tender, to find the right products in your product catalog so that you would even know, can I actually offer something to this tender? Does it make sense to participate? Is it only about low margin products? Is it about interesting margin products? Can we really compete in this? Should we invest even more time in that? And it took them sometimes weeks to do that. And now with AI and automating this matching process, it's down to half a day. Then you know, okay, I will invest the time to participate in this, and we can ensure that we provide a compelling quote to make sure that the patients ultimately get the best products for a fair price. Yeah. And that's a hands-on. We saw other use cases yesterday too. I really love the insurance examples, but that's like in a totally different industry. Also, not the most fancy AI, but it is an AI use case to resolve a day-to-day challenge and speed up a workflow in a business to use both like structured data about products, but also the unstructured textual descriptions to ultimately map the request to the product catalog. And that's just the part, but it was a significant driver, like speeding up this process powered by AI. That was part of the business case. We can really increase the number of bids we can participate in by reducing the effort, the manual effort needed per tender. But the solution itself is significantly larger. It's a whole business process now digitally implemented. This used to be an Excel business. Spreadsheets over spreadsheets, different formats in every single country or market. So, and it's not a secret, 3M is one of the biggest SAP customers. SAP seems not to do a good job in tender business. And there was a gap left open. So saying, okay, we can speed it up with AI, but we can also digitize the business process from tender import to managing the whole workflow, mapping it to customer data, mapping the products especially, to pre-filter, prioritize, pricing support. When you gather also information about prices from past tenders, you can sort of anticipate what competitors typically ask for a certain product to benchmark yourself. It's always about price, quality, and now it's also about longevity often, or sustainability of products. So to sort of find the right balance, you might even be a bit more expensive, given the higher quality, and benchmark yourself against competitors in no time because the data is there. It's not an Excel thing anymore. And you get like AI-powered product mapping support, but also a way more data-driven approach to pricing quotes and providing a bid ultimately. So a bespoke approach to solving this specific niche problem. It doesn't have to be the whole ERP system. It can also be a very specific process. And last example, in terms of a case study, now switching to financial services, but that applies to any CRM or supplier management situation. I know it's difficult to read, but it's just a mock-up from Salesforce, because we couldn't obviously not make real CRM screenshots in the project. But here, it's about a wealth manager, global wealth manager, and the big growth opportunity for wealth managers and private banks today is the mass affluent market. Ultra high net worth individuals are well covered. There's about competing about market share, but the big growth opportunity lies in mass affluent. And that's a big problem, because there are so many more mass affluent customers out there. And just to hire more, I mean, you differentiate because of your great advisory and great customer support. So just by now scaling up the advisory teams to tackle more of the mass affluent market doesn't really work that way. So they wanted to be more kind of intelligent or data-driven to find the right customers that are a really good match to their services that they can help with. It's founders of companies, startup founders, these are the shiny examples. You want to find those liquidity events that make people wealthy or wealthier. Like there's rumors about an IPO that rarely happens in terms of being the real signal, but that's a good example. Yeah? Or simply looking at balance sheets of companies and finding out there are some ways to see, are they kind of making the company nice for a potential sale? How about family connections? So there's so much data needed for this. Financial company information, information about the individuals owning and or leading the companies, their networks. This is a graph visualization of showing how a person is connected to different companies that he runs or owns or is on the board of, and then there are signals like a management change or executive appointment to see, okay, there's also a personal life event happening right now. This works differently across jurisdictions. A lot more is possible in the US, but still a good part of that is possible in Europe too. But to get this sort of customer 360 view, leveraging lots of data already available in the bank from different systems, but then there are also specialized data providers offering dossiers and more information about companies, about wealthy individuals, to get all that together. And they already had subscriptions with different data vendors, but that meant simply different logins on different websites for the advisors, and they really did not like that because it's just so much work, and ultimately they relied on the Google Alerts subscriptions, and the money was still spent but not really used. And then there's so much need to also stay in the know about companies and the people around them, like in the news. Also, they would no longer want to rely on people reading the newspaper every morning, or maybe the Google Alerts were triggered. They're also tricky if you understand how they work. So to set up a systematic, institutionalized way to stay in the know about potential clients, leads, but also existing customers, not to be surprised in the end. And so there is a CRM system in place, there is a data warehouse in place, and the first thing was to, again, introduce this paradigm of a more API-driven, data product-driven thinking of integrating those data vendors. This way, adding resilience to the system. If one system fails in the morning, it doesn't matter anymore. There are then certain steps taken to keep the overall system still running, to introduce a system for web crawling and extract content and make it available via API, to introduce an appropriate data storage, data layer. In this case, we opted for some graph technology because connections are so important. You want to understand those personal and professional relationships of those potential customers. But graph technology is really slow. And what everyone hates is when the CRM system takes ages to show data. So we had then to add a layer of something like a search index technology around that to gain performance again. And so to find the good mix of technology to provide the right performance in the end. And then again, adding in a bit more AI to this. I tried here, like Richard Müller, CEO of Bern Insurance, and he's actually Richard Gregor Müller. He has a middle name too. They got it right, at least to some extent. The Americans simply skip the dots often. Richard Müller with the umlaut and so on. So again, not a too fancy thing, but it's so critical. You need to deal with the right data. Maybe there's 10 Richard Müllers out there. So to do the matching right and to use all the contextual information and say, yeah, this is really the one and only person that we need to have in the CRM system, and even match news about the affiliated companies to his record, that requires lots of analysis, data comparison to increase the data quality of matched data records, and also to get signals from the news, again, like IPO, executive appointment, market share increase, when you read that in the news, to always map that to the right companies and persons. And the last important thing about this use case is where to actually run this. Wealth managers, financial services, super regulated. Personally identifiable data, super regulated. So the CRM definitely in the private cloud. But to some extent, you need the data from the CRM to do the matching with those external vendors even better. So we introduced, it's a bit difficult to see, another secure cloud layer that doesn't have full access to the full details, but those that were okay to share with a still proprietary secure environment, whereas this is out in the public cloud services. So at least here, three different approaches to leveraging cloud as an operating environment to make this work and to make all the compliance officers happy and to be able to provide a better data service to advisors. Again, here, the case study is on the website. Yeah, that's kind of what I already said. I pasted in this, that's a picture from VMware, one of the vendors of software to support software engineering purposes, but also to manage software runtime environments, to distribute services across different cloud services, to also move a piece of software from on-prem to cloud, to private cloud, and so on, to manage those Kubernetes clusters and so on. Really useful system. There are different vendors too, but that's one that we often work with. And I just wanted to point this out because this also applies to AI use cases. Private AI is a big buzzword currently framed here as well. To build the software, now we speak about cloud-native software in a cloud-native way. That doesn't mean we build it for the cloud only, but the software itself that we build is or can be run both in the cloud or on-prem on a server in the basement. But from the way it's built, you can always change that. You can move it back and forth into different environments, and that's why this is so essential, because this way you can more easily cater to also emerging needs over time, to scale it up over time, and simply to have the flexibility to do that. And also not to be locked into the cloud environment of a single vendor like Amazon or Microsoft. They all have nice offers to make, say, hey, use our great graph database or cloud database, but then you're also kind of locked in again. And if you consider more cloud-native paradigms when implementing a system, you can retain the flexibility to also change providers. That probably doesn't happen often, but it can happen at least. So, getting back to the beginning of the presentation about how to really differentiate in the market, create competitive edge with software. And there's something that we call the advantage gap. And standard software, again, is great for standard requirements like financial accounting. That makes total sense. But if you want to break free of the limitations for other use cases, applications where you can create this competitive advantage, you might want to do something bespoke or tailor-made. But then again, you face some challenges, how to do it. And as all the companies should actually become software companies themselves, you might actually want to do it in-house, which is a very good way to do that. But you might still lack the resources to do that. And then it's often an approach to hire people, hire freelancers, hire contractors. But you own it, but you end up with the challenge that you need to tell them what to do, when to do it, and how. And you might also not have that expertise explicitly already built up. So internal with body leasing might be difficult. And then the other option might be simply to outsource it completely. Hey, that's a great company, like our company as well, CID, that just do it for us. And then you own it, but it's a black box and you don't necessarily understand its inner workings, also not optimal. So that's what we call this advantage gap. That can be actually turned into a sweet spot of collaboration between companies to resolve those issues and to still enable you to do it in a bespoke way and own it, but with the right level of support to not deal with black box and not having to tell everyone what to do and when and how all the time. And this is really, I think I left one slide out here, so how to fill the gap with deep collaboration, allowing the vendor really understand well your needs and how your business works, getting the business people together with the tech team, both the internal and the external team, so that they can understand what it's about, a deep collaboration. And the external vendor providing the tech expertise and the business experts providing the business expertise, but not in like, let's write a specification document, workshop mode, but in a continuous day-to-day collaboration between the teams. The CRM team, the logistics teams, they need to own the software service they will build. They need to be part of those teams. We even call them hybrid squads. So a squad, a software development team that consists of team members from minimally the two organizations, the customer and the software vendor. And also the combination of what I just spoke about today, the process digitization, like how to digitize this tender business process, by adding AI into that or modern data stack to make use of that, and to already think about where to run it. In that case, it was then Microsoft Azure. Think about all those three things from the very beginning. It's essential. It has an impact on the software design and the architecture. And software can be really great if we factor in all those three things from the very beginning. And another buzzword, I already mentioned it, product thinking. Many software projects struggle because they are projects and treated as such. They have a start date and they have an end date. And after the end date, everyone leaves, including the experience and the know-how and all of that. And software cannot stand still anymore. On Tuesday, someone said, never change running system. Oh dear, no, this is so wrong. It had been wrong probably always, but it's even more today, especially if you run it in the cloud. The cloud environment changes like every day, and there are cyber attacks coming every day, and you need to be constantly updating, improving the software you work with, and most importantly, to adapt to changing business requirements all the time. And if you add product thinking to this, treat every single piece of software as a product. With the product owner, it automatically comes with a life cycle. how to improve it, how to maintain it, when to dispose it, and yeah, that adds quality, longevity, and increase also the sort of commitment of those who participate in the product development. And that's also how we work with our customers to say we don't just provide you with resources, but we become part of the product team and commit to those product lifecycle objectives as well. And yeah, smart iterations, clear, you do workshops, MVPs, products. Product management principles, we had that. Hybrid teams, we spoke about that. Cloud, we covered. See, we already covered a lot. So then only leaves me to say who we actually are. I work for CID. That's a medium-sized software company, 300 people plus staff, headquartered nearby Frankfurt, the other side of Frankfurt, more to the east. But we have locations all over Europe, not just locations, also remote working employees all over Europe. It's a family-owned, family-run business in a truly European setup today. And we've been digitizing business processes for 27 years. We've done AI for 17 years. And we have customers across many, many different industries. And yeah, what I told you today is really what we believe in, what is essential to create great software, and it's really rewarding when you then work with nice customers, family businesses like Engelbert Strauss, or big global corporations like 3M that actually agree to that. And yeah, we'll have the chance to discuss questions if you have later in the roundtable discussion. Thank you very much.